On February 14, 2024, my son's fiance's parents looked me in the eye and asked if I was the housekeeper. My son, Marcus James Holloway, the boy I raised alone, the child I sacrificed everything for, said nothing. He just stood there in the $2,800,000 house I'd bought with my own money and let them believe I was the help. I'm Denise Marie Holloway. I'm 62 years old. I smiled, said how nice to meet you, and walked upstairs to my bedroom. Then I decided to take back everything I'd given him. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. Let me tell you who I used to be, because understanding that will help you understand what came next. 1987. I was 25 years old, standing in a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco's Tenderloin district with a 3-year-old boy clinging to my leg and divorce papers in my hand. My husband, Daniel Holloway, had left us the year before when Marcus was just 2. No warning, no explanation, just gone. Took his clothes, his car, and the $3,400 in our savings account. Left behind his wedding ring on the kitchen counter and a note that said, "I can't do this anymore." I had $287 to my name, a high school diploma, a baby who kept asking when Daddy was coming home, and 2 jobs that together paid $18,000 a year, barely enough to cover rent and food in one of the most expensive cities in America. During the day, I worked the assembly line at Pacific Electronics on 3rd Street. Minimum wage, $3.35 an hour. I soldered circuit boards for 8 hours straight, standing on concrete floors that made my feet swell so bad I had to ice them every night. At 5 p.m., I'd pick up Marcus from Mrs. Chen's daycare, the cheapest one I could find at $40 a week, and bring him home. I'd make dinner, usually rice and beans or pasta with butter because that's what we could afford. I'd read him one bedtime story, always the same book, Where the Wild Things Are, because it was the only children's book I owned. Then at 7:30 p.m., Mrs. Chen would come over and watch him while I worked my second job. Night shift at the 76 gas station on Mission Street. 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., 6 nights a week. $4.25 an hour because it was graveyard shift. I'd stand behind bulletproof glass, selling cigarettes to prostitutes and lottery tickets to men who smelled like whiskey. I'd mop floors, count inventory, get propositioned by drunk men who thought a woman working alone at night was available. I kept a baseball bat under the counter and a canister of pepper spray in my apron pocket. I'd get home at 2:30 a.m., check on Marcus sleeping in his little bed, then collapse on the couch because I'd given him the bedroom. I'd sleep 4 hours, wake up at 6:30 a.m., make breakfast, get him dressed, start the whole thing over again. I did this for 3 years. Every single penny I didn't spend on rent or food I put in coffee cans. I had 7 of them hidden in my closet, each labeled with what it was for. Marcus clothes, Marcus school, emergency, someday. The someday can was for my dream, the one I didn't tell anyone about because they'd think I was crazy. I wanted to own a business. See, at the electronics factory, I'd noticed something. The equipment was always breaking down. Conveyor belts, soldering stations, ventilation fans, constantly needing repairs. The company would call expensive contractors who'd charge $200 an hour and take 3 days to fix a problem that probably took 20 minutes of actual work. I'd watch these men, and they were always men, walk in with their tool belts and their confidence, and I'd think, I could learn that. So I did. 1990. I was 28 years old. I started spending my lunch breaks with Eddie Martinez, our building's maintenance superintendent. Eddie was 63, Mexican immigrant, had been fixing buildings in San Francisco for 40 years. He took pity on me, this skinny white girl asking him to teach her about plumbing and electrical work. "Why you want to know this stuff?" he asked me once. "Because I want to stop being poor," I told him. He respected that. So every day for 2 years I'd eat my sandwich in 15 minutes, then spend the rest of my lunch hour following Eddie around. He taught me how to fix a leaking pipe, how to replace a light fixture, how to patch drywall, how to read a circuit breaker, how to snake a drain, how to install a toilet, how to replace a door hinge. I learned fast because I had to. I couldn't afford to waste time. On weekends, I started offering my services to neighbors in the building. Fixed a dripping faucet for Mrs. Kowalski in 3B, Charged her $15, and she cried because a real plumber had quoted her $120. Replaced the garbage disposal for the Nguyen family in $4 and $30, and they recommended me to 5 other families. Word spread. Pretty soon I was making an extra $200 to $300 a month doing small repairs around the Tenderloin. By 1995, I'd saved $14,847 in those coffee cans. Marcus was 9 years old, and I was ready. I found a tiny storefront on 18th Street in the Mission District. 600 square feet, filthy, had been empty for 8 months. The landlord, Mr. Giuseppe Russo, wanted $850 a month. I negotiated him down to $650 with a promise to fix everything myself. He laughed, said, "Lady, you're going to need a contractor for this place." And I said, "Watch me." It took me 6 weeks working every night after my day job. I rewired the electrical, installed new plumbing, built shelving units from scrap lumber, painted everything myself. Bright blue, cheerful, welcoming. Marcus helped after school, sweeping up sawdust, holding flashlights while I worked. He was so proud. He'd tell his friends, "My mom's opening a store." September 3rd, 1995, Holloway's Hardware and Home Repair opened for business. I sold basic hardware, nails, screws, light bulbs, paint, tools. But what made us different was the service. If you bought a toilet from me, I'd install it for you at cost. If you bought paint, I'd teach you how to use it properly. If you had a home repair problem and couldn't afford to hire someone, I'd show you how to fix it yourself. The motto I painted on the window, "We don't just sell it, we show you how." The first year, I made $31,000 in revenue, barely enough to cover rent, inventory, and Marcus's expenses. But I wasn't working at the factory anymore. I was my own boss. The second year, $48,000. Third year, $67,000. Fifth year, $103,000. I hired my first employee in 1998. Carmen Rodriguez, Eddie Martinez's niece, recently divorced, needed work. Then Tommy Washington in 2000, young black kid from the neighborhood who reminded me of Marcus. Then 3 more people in 2002. By 2007, Holloway's Hardware was doing $340,000 a year in business. We'd become a neighborhood institution. People knew me as the hardware lady, the woman who'd teach you to fix your own sink at midnight if you really needed help. I'd bought a small house in the Sunset District in 2004, $385,000, 2 bedrooms, 1,100 square feet. It was the first time Marcus and I had lived somewhere with a backyard. He was 18 years old, home from high school for summer before starting college, and I remember him sitting on the back porch saying, "Mom, you did this. You actually did this." I had, from $287 and 2 desperate jobs to a successful business and a real home, and I'd done it for him. Every single decision, every sacrifice, every late night, it was all so my son would never have to struggle the way I did. So he could have opportunities I never had. So he could become something more. I just didn't realize that something more would mean someone who was ashamed of where he came from. Marcus wasn't always the stranger who would one day let people call his mother the help. When he was 7 years old, 1991, he'd come to the hardware store after school. This was before I owned it. I was still working both jobs and doing repairs on the side. But Marcus would sit on the floor of whatever apartment I was fixing, doing his homework while I replaced faucets or patched walls. He was so proud of me then. "My mom can fix anything," he'd tell his teachers. "My mom's going to own her own business someday," he'd announce to anyone who'd listen. One time, I'll never forget this, he was 9 years old, and his class had career day. They were supposed to bring their parents to talk about their jobs. Most of the other kids' parents were doctors, lawyers, teachers. Marcus stood up and said, "My mom works 2 jobs so we can have a good life. During the day, she makes electronics, and at night she runs a gas station, and on weekends she fixes people's houses. She's the hardest worker I know." I cried in the back of that classroom. When the store opened in 1995, Marcus was my helper. He'd organize the nail bins after school, sorting everything by size. He'd sweep the floors. He'd help customers find items. He learned the inventory better than I did. By the time he was 12, he could recommend the right paint primer for any surface, explain the difference between Phillips and flathead screws, and tell you exactly which aisle had the item you needed. Every Friday night we had our ritual. Pizza from Amici's on the corner, $12.99 for a large pepperoni, Marcus's favorite. And we'd sit in the back of the store reviewing the week's sales. I'd show him the receipts, explain profit margins, teach him basic business math. Education isn't just what you learn in school, I'd tell him. It's learning how the world actually works. Sunday mornings, we'd prep the store for the week. Restock shelves, clean windows, plan the inventory orders. Then we'd go to brunch at Orphan Andy's. I'd have coffee and eggs. Marcus would get chocolate chip pancakes with extra whipped cream. Those were the good years. But then came St. Ignatius College Prep. Marcus got a scholarship in 2002, full academic ride to one of San Francisco's most prestigious private schools. I was so proud. My boy, the first person in our family to go to private school. I bought him the uniform secondhand, navy blazer, khaki pants, white Oxford shirts, and I'll never forget how handsome he looked that first day. But St. Ignatius was where everything started to change. The other kids there, they came from money, real money. Their parents were venture capitalists, tech executives, surgeons, partners at law firms. They had vacation homes in Tahoe. They took spring break trips to Europe. They drove BMWs on their 16th birthdays. Marcus started noticing the differences. "Why do we live in a small house when everyone else has big ones?" he asked me when he was 15. We'd just moved to the Sunset House, but it was modest compared to his classmates' homes in Pacific Heights or Seacliff. "We have a house, honey," I told him. "It's small, but it's ours, and that business is paying for your education." "Yeah, but it's not like Jeremy's house. His house has 5 bedrooms and a pool. Jeremy's father is a neurosurgeon. I own a hardware store. Different situations, baby." "Why didn't you become something like that? Something more professional?" The question stung, but I kept my voice calm. Because with a high school education and a 2-year-old son, I couldn't exactly go to medical school. I built what I could build. And that business put food on our table and is paying for that fancy school of yours. He was quiet after that. By 17, Marcus started asking me to drop him off a block away from school instead of right at the entrance. "Just for the exercise," he'd say, but I knew. He didn't want his friends to see our 2000 Honda Accord with the dent in the passenger door. I pretended not to notice. At 18, he stopped bringing friends to the house. When I asked why, he said, "Everyone's busy, Mom. We just hang out at school." But I saw his Facebook account. Yes, I was on the computer by then, learning. I saw photos of his classmates at each other's houses, massive homes with grand pianos and art collections and wine cellars, houses where our entire place could fit in the living room. Still, he was my Marcus. He still helped at the store sometimes, still had Sunday brunch with me, still kissed me goodbye before school and told me he loved me. I told myself the teenage distance was normal. He was growing up, finding himself. It would pass. Then came Stanford, 2008. Marcus got into Stanford University with a full scholarship, full academic ride, tuition, room, board, everything covered. The acceptance letter came on a Friday in March, and we both cried. Happy tears, proud tears. My son was going to Stanford. The hardware store was doing well by then, $580,000 in annual revenue. I had 8 employees. I'd paid off the house. I had about $240,000 in savings and investments. For a woman who started with nothing, I'd done pretty well. But Stanford kids came from a different world. I remember Marcus's freshman orientation weekend. September 2008. I drove him down to Palo Alto in my Honda, now a 2006 model, slightly better than before. We pulled into the parking lot and it was filled with Mercedes, Audis, Range Rovers, parents in designer clothes helping their kids move into dorms. One mother looked at me, in my jeans and hardware store polo shirt, and asked if I was with the moving service. "No," I said. "I'm Marcus's mother." "Oh," she looked surprised. "I'm sorry, I just assumed. Well, never mind. I'm Vanessa. My daughter Claire is on Marcus's floor." I shook her hand. Her grip was limp. Her diamond ring probably cost more than my car. That was my introduction to Marcus's new world. I visited him monthly during freshman year. We'd have lunch in the cafeteria or walk around campus. He was doing well, 3.8 GPA, made some friends, joined the debate team. He seemed happy. But I noticed small changes. He stopped posting photos of me on his Facebook. His page was full of Stanford, the campus, his friends, events, but none of our Sunday brunch tradition. None of our Friday pizza nights when he came home. When I'd visit, he'd introduce me to people as Denise instead of my mom. Denise, this is Tyler. Tyler, Denise. Not this is my mother. Just Denise. I let it go. College kids are weird about their parents. It's normal. Junior year, fall 2010, Marcus brought someone home for Thanksgiving. Jessica Marie Campbell. Tall, blonde, 20 years old, studying economics at Stanford. Beautiful in that effortless way wealthy girls are. Natural highlights, perfect teeth, skin that's never had to worry about sun damage from working outdoors. She was polite. Called me Mrs. Holloway initially, then switched to Denise after Marcus said, "Oh, she doesn't mind, just call her Denise." Actually, I did mind, but I didn't say anything. Jessica's father, Robert Campbell, was a venture capitalist. Her mother, Patricia Campbell, was a former Sotheby's art specialist. They had a house in Atherton worth $8 million, an apartment in Boston, and a cottage in Nantucket. At Thanksgiving dinner, Jessica tried to be nice. "This house is so cozy, Denise. Very homey." Cozy, the rich person's word for small. "Thank you, Jessica. I bought it myself in 2004. "Oh, you bought it? Marcus mentioned you ran some kind of shop?" "I own Holloway's Hardware and Home Repair. 2 locations now." "How nice. Like a hobby business?" "A hobby. 15-hour days, 20 years of work, 8 employees. A hobby." "It's my career," I said evenly. "It put Marcus through private school and supplements his Stanford expenses that the scholarship doesn't cover." Marcus jumped in quickly. "Mom's business has been really successful. Anyway, Jess, tell her about your semester abroad plans." Changing the subject. Not defending me, not correcting Jessica's dismissive tone. That Thanksgiving was the first time I realized I was losing my son. Marcus graduated Stanford in 2012. Summa cum laude, political science major. I was so proud. I threw him a graduation party at the house, invited all my employees, the neighbors, his old teachers from St. Ignatius. Catered by Amici's Pizza, our old Friday night place. It cost me $1,800, but I didn't care. Jessica's parents sent a gift basket. They didn't attend. That fall, Marcus started Harvard Law School. Harvard. My son. The boy I'd raised in the Tenderloin was going to Harvard. The scholarship covered tuition, $60,000 a year. But living expenses in Boston were brutal. Marcus needed help. September 2013, he called me. "Mom, I need to talk to you about finances." "Of course, honey. What do you need?" "Boston is really expensive. The loan options aren't great. I was wondering if... I hate to ask, but how much, Marcus?" "Maybe $30,000 a year, for rent and living expenses. I'll pay you back as soon as I'm working. I promise." I had it. The business was doing $720,000 a year by then. I'd saved diligently. And this was my son, my only child. His education was the whole point of everything I'd built. "I'll do better than that," I told him. "I'll take out a home equity line of credit. $120,000 should cover all 3 years comfortably. You focus on school, not money." "Mom, Thank you. I'll pay you back. I swear." "I know you will, baby." He never did. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part came in 2014, Marcus's second year of law school. I was on Facebook. Yes, I'm 62, I use the computer. And I saw a post from one of Marcus's Harvard classmates. A photo of study group. The caption, "Late night at the library with the best crew. Thanks for the coffee run, Mark." Mark. I clicked on the photo. There was my son holding coffee cups, smiling at the camera. I called him. "Marcus, honey, I saw a photo where someone called you Mark. Is that a nickname?" Long pause. "Yeah, kind of. Some people here it's easier to say than Marcus. But your name is Marcus, after your grandfather." "I know, Mom, it's not a big deal. It's just what people call me here." "Do you introduce yourself as Mark?" Another pause. Longer. "Sometimes, professionally. Marcus sounds it's just a preference thing." Translation. Marcus sounds too working class. Too urban, even though we're white, but it still carries implications he wanted to avoid. Mark Holloway sounded like old money, like someone whose parents had a yacht. Marcus Holloway sounded like someone whose mother owned a hardware store. I felt something crack in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "Okay, honey, if that's what you want. Thanks for understanding, Mom. But I didn't understand. I just didn't know how to fight it. Graduation 2016. I flew to Boston for Marcus's Harvard Law graduation. Bought a new dress, $180 at Macy's, the most I'd ever spent on clothes. Got my hair done professionally. I wanted to look good for my son's big day. The ceremony was beautiful. Marcus graduated top 5% of his class. He'd already accepted a position at Harrison & Associates, a prestigious corporate law firm in San Francisco. Starting salary, $190,000. All those years, all that sacrifice, it had worked. My son was going to be successful. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Marcus introduced me to his classmates, his professors, Jessica's parents who'd flown out. "Everyone, this is Denise," he said. "Not my mother, not the woman who made this possible. Just Denise." Robert Campbell shook my hand. "Denise, lovely to finally meet you properly. Marcus has told us so much about Boston. Not about me. About Boston." Patricia Campbell air-kissed near my cheek. "That's a lovely dress, Denise. Macy's? How did she know? Did it look cheap? I thought it looked nice." "Yes, Macy's," I said. "I love Macy's," she said in a tone that suggested she'd never actually shopped there in her life. At dinner that night, a fancy restaurant Marcus had chosen, $95 per person, Jessica asked me about my little shop. "Oh, it's doing well," I said. We expanded to a second location in 2014. Annual revenue last year was $810,000. I said this to impress them, to show them I wasn't just some nobody. Jessica's eyes widened. "Oh my goodness, that's actually quite good for a small business." Like she was surprised I could count that high. Marcus quickly changed the subject. "Jess and I are thinking about getting an apartment together in San Francisco. We've been looking at places in North Beach." "North Beach is lovely," I said. "Expensive, though. Those apartments run $3,500 to $4,000 for a one-bedroom." "We can afford it," Marcus said, a bit defensively. "My starting salary is $190,000. Jessica's starting at $165,000 in tech consulting. Combined, we'll be making $355,000. We'll be fine." Combined. Like they were a unit. Like I was outside that unit. I should have seen it coming then, but I was still in denial. Still thinking this was a phase. Still believing my Marcus, my baby boy, was in there somewhere. By 2022, Holloway's hardware and home repair had become something I never imagined when I opened that tiny storefront in 1995. 2 locations, the original on 18th Street and a larger store on Clement Street in the Richmond district. 12 employees. Annual revenue of $847,000. We'd become a neighborhood institution, featured in the San Francisco Chronicle in 2021 with the headline, "Working Class Hero, How One Woman Built a Community Hub." The article talked about how I taught free home repair workshops for women, how I gave discounts to seniors on fixed incomes, how I'd employed dozens of people from the neighborhood over the years, many of them immigrants or people who'd struggled to find work elsewhere. Marcus sent me a text about the article. Saw the piece in the Chronicle. "Nice press, Mom." Nice press. Like it was a publicity stunt and not recognition of 27 years of hard work. But I was tired. 60 years old. Arthritis in my hands from decades of manual work. My back hurt from lifting inventory boxes. I'd been doing this since 1995, almost 30 years of 12-hour days, 7-day weeks, constant physical labor. I was ready to retire. June 2022, Home Depot approached me with an offer to buy both locations. They wanted the properties and the customer base. The offer, $1,400,000. $1,400,000. For a woman who'd started with $287 and 2 desperate jobs, this was beyond anything I'd ever imagined. I was going to accept. I was going to retire. Travel a little. Volunteer. Spend time with future grandchildren. Marcus and Jessica had been together 10 years by then, living together in a nice apartment in North Beach. An engagement seemed inevitable. But then Marcus called. July 2022. "Mom, can we talk? In person, it's important." We met at Pete's Coffee on Irving Street. Marcus arrived in his BMW $67,000 car. I'd looked it up when he first bought it. He was wearing a suit that probably cost $2,000. He looked successful, handsome, like someone who belonged in boardrooms. He didn't look like my son anymore. "Mom, I heard about the Home Depot offer. Congratulations." "Thank you, honey. I'm thinking about accepting." "Before you do, I wanted to talk to you about something. An opportunity for both of us." Here it comes, I thought. He needs money. Jessica and I are getting serious. Marriage is definitely in our future. We're thinking about the next step, buying property, building equity, starting a family. That's wonderful, Marcus. But here's the thing. San Francisco real estate is insane right now. A decent house in a good neighborhood is $2 to $3 million minimum. We have good income. I made partner last year, so I'm at $320,000 now, and Jessica's at $195,000. But that's still not enough for that kind of down payment, not with our student loans and expenses. I stayed quiet, waiting. I was thinking, what if we invested in property together? You have the money from the business sale. We need a place. What if you put down a significant portion? We all live there together, and it's an investment for you. Family under one roof, you get built-in companionship. We get the space we need for our future, and San Francisco real estate always appreciates. Financially, it's smart. He'd rehearsed this. I could tell. You want me to buy a house for you and Jessica to live in? Not for us. For all of us. You'd live there too, Mom. That's the whole point. Multi-generational living. It's actually very common in other cultures. Where would this house be? North Beach. We've been looking. There's a place on Stockton Street, $2.1 million. Amazing location. 4 bedrooms. We'd all have our own space. $2.1 million. My entire life savings plus a mortgage. Marcus, that's a lot of money. I know, but think about it. You're 60 now. Do you really want to be alone in some small place? This way you're with family, with me, with your future daughter-in-law, with your eventual grandchildren. The manipulation was subtle but effective. Alone, small place, versus family and grandchildren. I'd need to think about it, I said. Of course. Take your time. Just don't sell to Home Depot yet. At least look at the house with us. Against my better judgment, I looked. The house was beautiful. 1247 Stockton Street, North Beach. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,400 square feet. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, a small backyard. Walking distance to Washington Square Park and Saints Peter and Paul Church. It was perfect. Jessica was there, charming and enthusiastic. Denise, can't you just imagine us here? Sunday dinners together, holidays. This room would be perfect for a nursery someday. And this bedroom has the most gorgeous morning light. It would be perfect for you. The smallest bedroom. But she framed it as a gift. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. I said yes. August 2022, I put down $900,000. Every penny from the Home Depot sale plus my savings. I took out a mortgage for the remaining $1,200,000. The house was in my name only because my credit score was excellent and I could qualify for the loan. Marcus promised he'd help with payments. We'll work out a fair split, Mom. Of course we'll contribute. The mortgage was $8,500 a month, plus property taxes, insurance, and utilities. Total monthly cost, about $12,000. Marcus's contribution, $0. We're setting up the automatic transfer, Mom. Just dealing with some bank stuff. Then it was. Jess and I had unexpected expenses this month. We'll catch up next month. Then it was nothing. No mention of payment at all. But the house needed work. Jessica hired an interior designer, Charlotte Preston, $150 per hour consultation fee. The renovation budget, $380,000. I paid it all. Home equity loan against the house I'd just bought. September through December 2022, our home was transformed into Jessica's vision. Modern minimalist aesthetic. White walls, blonde wood floors, expensive light fixtures from design within reach. Every trace of my style. The comfortable furniture from my old house. The photos of Marcus as a child. The framed Chronicle article about my business. Gone. It doesn't fit the aesthetic, Denise, Jessica said gently. We're going for cohesive design. Maybe you could keep those items in your bedroom as personal touches? My entire life reduced to personal touches that belonged in my bedroom. We moved in January 2023. Marcus and Jessica took the master suite, 1,200 square feet with a walk-in closet and spa bathroom. I got the smallest bedroom, 240 square feet with lovely morning light. The first dinner in our new home, Jessica cooked. Some quinoa kale salmon thing that cost $60 in ingredients from Whole Foods. I offered to help. I'm happy to contribute to meals, honey. I can cook sometimes. Oh, that's sweet, Denise, but I have a very specific meal plan. I track macros, just relax and enjoy. Not mom, never mom with Jessica, just Denise. Like I was her roommate, or her tenant. The signs were small at first. Marcus and Jessica had friends over often. Colleagues from their firms, Jessica's college friends, people from their social circle. Successful people in their 30s and early 40s, wearing expensive casual clothes, drinking wine that cost more than I used to make in a day. I tried to be social. I'd come downstairs when I heard voices, introduce myself, be friendly. Hi, I'm Denise. I live here too. Awkward glances between guests. Looks to Marcus for clarification. Oh, Denise is... She lives here with us, Marcus would say. Not my mother, not the woman who owns this house. Just she lives here with us. One time, March 2023, a colleague of Marcus's, a man named Ryan Cooper, actually asked me, "Oh, are you the housekeeper?" I waited for Marcus to correct him. Marcus just laughed uncomfortably. No, Denise is... She's family. She lives here. He couldn't say my mother. Ryan nodded, still confused, and changed the subject. I went back upstairs to my small bedroom with the lovely morning light. The dinner parties were worse. Jessica hosted them monthly. 8 to 12 people, catered food from expensive restaurants, wine that cost $80 to $120 per bottle. I paid for the groceries that stocked the house, the utilities that kept the lights on, the mortgage that kept the roof over their heads. But I wasn't invited to sit at the table. Denise, would you mind giving us some space tonight? We're hosting Jessica's colleagues, and it's a bit of a work thing. May 2023, Jessica's birthday dinner. 16 people. I stayed in my bedroom, listening to laughter and conversation downstairs in my own house. July 2023, Marcus made senior partner at Harrison & Associates. Huge achievement. Salary jumped to $320,000. Combined with Jessica's $195,000, they were now making $515,000 a year. They threw a celebration dinner. 20 guests. I saw the photos on Facebook later. Beautiful table setting, expensive wine, everyone dressed up. I wasn't invited. I was upstairs. But the financial situation was the real knife in the back. Every month I paid. Mortgage, $8,500. Property tax, $2,100. Insurance, $450. Utilities, $380. Groceries, $800. They ate expensive organic everything. Maintenance, $300. Total, $12,530 per month. Marcus's contribution, $0. I asked him about it in August 2023. Honey, we need to talk about the house expenses. Oh yeah, Mom, sorry. Jess and I have been meaning to set up that transfer. We've just had a lot of expenses. The wedding planning is getting expensive. Wedding planning? You're engaged? Well, not officially yet, but we're planning it, looking at venues and stuff. Marcus, I've been covering all the house expenses for 8 months. That's over $100,000. I know, and we appreciate it. We'll start contributing, I promise. Another promise, like the one about paying back the $120,000 for law school. September 2023, I found something. Marcus had left his laptop open in the living room, unusual for him. He was upstairs showering. I was walking by to get water from the kitchen and I saw a document on the screen. Wedding planning budget.xlsx. I shouldn't have looked. I know, but I did. Total budget, $247,000. Venue, Carneros Resort, Napa Valley, $85,000. Catering, $32,000. Photography, $15,000. Florals, $18,000. Band, $12,000. On and on. $250,000 for a wedding. But what hurt most was the guest list tab. 200 guests total. Jessica's family, 87 people. Jessica's friends, 64 people. Marcus's colleagues, 38 people. Marcus's friends, 10 people. Marcus's family. 1, me. Not Denise Holloway, mother of the groom. Just family 1. and the seating chart. Table 18, back corner, with miscellaneous guests, distant cousins of Jessica's family who probably didn't even know Marcus. I took photos of everything with my phone, every page, every detail. Then I closed the laptop and went back upstairs. That night, I lay in my small bedroom with the lovely morning light and realized I was a ghost in my own house, living with a son who'd erased me from his life story, paying for a mansion I was barely allowed to exist in, funding a wedding where I was an afterthought. And then came February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day, the day everything changed. Jessica's parents were visiting from Boston for the long weekend. Robert and Patricia Campbell, the venture capitalist and the art dealer. This was a big deal, the meet the family seriously before we announced the engagement visit. I wanted to make a good impression, show them I wasn't just some nobody, show them I'd raised Marcus right, show them I belonged at the table. I spent all day February 14th cooking. Pot roast, Marcus's favorite when he was little. I still remembered the recipe exactly. Chuck roast, red wine, pearl onions, baby carrots, fresh thyme, slow cooked for 6 hours until the meat falls apart. I made mashed potatoes from scratch, green beans with almonds, homemade apple pie using my mother's recipe, the one I'd made for Marcus's birthday every year when he was growing up. I set the dining room table beautifully, used the good china we'd bought for the house, $2,400 for a set of 12. Jessica had picked it out. Fresh flowers in the center, cloth napkins, candles, everything perfect. 6 p.m., I heard the front door open. Voices in the foyer. Marcus's voice. "Robert, Patricia, welcome back to San Francisco. So good to see you again." Air kisses, the rustle of expensive coats being removed. I came out of the kitchen, wiping my hands on my apron, smiling. "Hello, you must be the Campbells. Welcome. I've made dinner for everyone." Marcus's face went pale. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Making dinner for our guests, honey. I thought—" Jessica appeared behind him, holding hands with a tall, elegant woman in her 50s, Patricia. Behind them, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair, Robert. "Denise," Jessica said quickly, "that's so sweet, but we have reservations at Quince. 7 p.m. I mentioned it last week, remember?" She hadn't. I would have remembered. "But I've been cooking all day. I made Marcus's favorite, pot roast. There's enough for everyone." Patricia Campbell stepped forward, looking at the dining room table I'd set, then at me in my apron with flour still on my hands. Her smile was polite. Cool. The smile rich people give to service workers. "How sweet," she said. "Did your housekeeper make this?" The world stopped. I looked at Marcus. Our eyes met. This was his moment. His chance to say, "That's not the housekeeper. That's my mother. The woman who raised me alone, who worked 2 jobs, who built a business from nothing, who put me through Stanford and Harvard, who bought this house we're standing in." He opened his mouth. I waited. "Oh, that's not... Denise is..." Jessica cut him off smoothly, her voice bright. "Denise lives with us. She helps around the house." Robert Campbell nodded, barely paying attention. "Ah, live-in help. That's convenient in San Francisco. Hard to find good people." Marcus said nothing. He looked at me, looked right at me with my flour-covered hands and my apron and my 6 hours of cooking, and he said absolutely nothing. Jessica checked her watch. "We should go. Reservations in 40 minutes. Denise, thank you for the effort, but we really must run." Patricia was already turning toward the door. Robert was checking his phone. Marcus grabbed his suit jacket from the coat rack. Jessica kissed him on the cheek. "I told you we should have reminded her about Quince, babe." Reminded me, like I was forgetful, like I was someone who needed to be managed. "We'll probably be out late," Marcus said to me, standing there in the ruins of my effort. "Don't wait up," and they left. All 4 of them. I stood in the foyer of the house I'd bought, wearing an apron I'd put on to cook for people who thought I was the help, while my son, my only child, the boy I'd sacrificed everything for, walked out the door without correcting them. I went to the dining room, looked at the table I'd set so carefully, the pot roast keeping warm in the kitchen, the apple pie cooling on the counter. I sat down, alone. I served myself a plate of food. I ate pot roast by myself in silence in my $2.8 million house that I wasn't allowed to exist in. And somewhere around the 3rd bite, something inside me changed. I was done. I stood up, walked to my bedroom, got my laptop from the desk, came back downstairs and sat at the kitchen table, opened the computer, typed into Google, "How to remove adult children from house you own, California." Read for 30 minutes, made notes, then I started making phone calls. By the time Marcus came home at 11:30 p.m., I heard him stumbling upstairs. They'd had a lot of wine at Quince, apparently. I'd talked to 3 people. My sister Carol, who I hadn't spoken to in almost 2 years, a real estate attorney named Sarah Mitchell, a realtor named Jennifer Rodriguez, and I had a plan. Marcus didn't come to my room, didn't apologize, didn't check on me. I saw the credit card charge the next morning, $1,680 for dinner at Quince, 4 people at $420 each, charged to my card without asking. That was February 14th, 2024. On February 15th, I woke up at 5:47 a.m. I'd barely slept, maybe 3 hours total. But my mind was racing and I had work to do. Marcus and Jessica were still asleep in their master suite, probably hungover from their expensive dinner. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, started researching in earnest. First search, California property law, adult children living at home. I learned that in California, if an adult child lives in a parent's home without a formal lease agreement, they're considered at-will tenants. The homeowner can terminate the tenancy with proper notice, typically 30 to 60 days, depending on length of residency. Marcus had lived here for 18 months. That meant 60 days notice. But eviction would destroy any remaining relationship. And despite everything, I still loved my son. Second search, selling house with adult children living in it, California. I learned that if the house is solely in my name, I can sell it. Current occupants must vacate by the closing date specified in the purchase agreement. Interesting. I took notes, made a list of questions. Then I sent an email at 6:23 a.m. to Sarah Mitchell, Esquire, family law and real estate attorney, whose office was on Montgomery Street. By 8 a.m., I had a response. Available Thursday, February 17th, 2 p.m., consultation fee $350 for initial hour. I booked it. I spent the entire day in my bedroom going through every financial document I had. Bank statements, credit card bills, the home equity loan paperwork, the renovation invoices, everything. I created a spreadsheet on my computer. I'd gotten pretty good with Excel from running the business all those years. Total invested by Denise Holloway. Down payment, $900,000. Renovations, $380,000 mortgage payments. 18 months times $8,500, $153,000. Property tax, 18 months times $2,100, $37,800. Insurance, 18 months times $450, $8,100. Utilities, 18 months times $380, $6,840. Groceries, 18 months times $800, $14,400. Maintenance/repairs, $8,200. Grand total, $1,508,340, $1,508,340. Total contributed by Marcus Holloway, $0. I saved the spreadsheet as financial_reality, XLSX, and put it in a folder on my desktop labeled evidence. Then I kept digging. Marcus went to work at 7:30 a.m. Jessica left for her consulting job at 8:15 a.m. I had the house to myself. I needed to get my own copy of that wedding planning document I'd seen in September. I needed hard evidence with current dates. I went into their master suite. My heart was pounding. I'd never been in there before. It felt wrong, invasive, but I needed to know. Marcus's laptop was on the desk, password protected. But I knew Marcus. He'd used the same password pattern since high school, his school mascot and graduation year. I tried. Gators 2008, St. Ignatius graduation. It worked. I opened his documents folder, found wedding_planning_2024_final.xlsx. My hands were shaking as I opened it and started photographing every page with my phone. Marcus and Jessica wedding budget, September 21st, 2024 venue, Carneros Resort and Spa, Napa Valley rental fee, $45,000. Ceremony setup, $12,000. Reception $28,000. Subtotal $85,000. Catering 200 guests at $160 per person. Food $32,000. Premium bar 4 hours. $15,000. Cake $3,200. Subtotal $50,200. Photography and video. Photographer 10 hours. $8,500. Videographer $6,500. Subtotal $15,000. Florals and decor. Ceremony flowers $8,000. Reception centerpieces $7,500. Bride's bouquet $850. Arch/arbor $2,400. Subtotal $18,750. Music live band 4 hours $12,000. Ceremony musicians $1,800. DJ after party $2,200. Subtotal $16,000. Other expenses. Save the dates and invitations $3,400. Transportation, vintage cars $2,800. Wedding planner $8,500. Rehearsal dinner $6,800. Hotel room block $12,000. Party favors $2,200. Marriage license, tips, Messy C $4,350. Total budget $247,000. But here's what made my stomach turn. Payment plan. Campbell family contribution $125,000. Mark's savings $87,000. Credit cards $35,000. Mark's savings $87,000. Marcus had told me just months ago he was tight on cash and couldn't help with the house expenses. I clicked on another file. Financial_overview_MH_2024.xlsx. Marcus Holloway. Personal finances. Checking account. Chase. $43,287. Savings account. Wells Fargo. $78,450. Investment account. Vanguard. $112,340. 401k. $89,200. Total liquid assets $323,277. $323,000. My son had nearly $333,000 and was telling me he couldn't afford to contribute to the house. I photographed everything, every page, every number, every lie. Then I found the guest list file. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Guest list, 200 total, organized by table assignments. Table 1, Jessica's parents, Jessica's siblings, close family. Table 2, Marcus's boss, senior partners. Table 3, Jessica's college friends, tables 4 to 17, various friends, colleagues, extended family. Table 18, miscellaneous guests, plus family, Denise Holloway, 1, table 18. 15 tables away from the head table, listed as miscellaneous, not mother of the groom, just family, 1. I took photos until my phone storage was nearly full, closed everything, left the room exactly as I'd found it, went downstairs, made myself tea with trembling hands, and at 2 p.m. I drove to my appointment with Sarah Mitchell. Sarah Mitchell's office was in a high-rise on Montgomery Street, 23rd floor. Glass walls, expensive furniture, the kind of place that screamed success. Sarah herself was about 50, sharp gray suit, kind eyes behind designer glasses. She had the look of someone who'd seen everything and wasn't easily shocked. "Mrs. Holloway, thank you for coming in. Tell me about your situation." I told her everything. The Valentine's Day incident, the financial exploitation, the wedding budget, the guest list placement. I showed her my spreadsheet, the photos from Marcus's laptop. Sarah's expression didn't change much, but I saw her jaw tighten when I showed her the Table 18 Family 1 designation. "Mrs. Holloway, let me ask you some specific questions. How is the house titled?" "Solely in my name, Denise Marie Holloway. No other names on the deed." "And you've paid for everything? Down payment, renovation, all monthly expenses?" "Every penny. I have documentation going back to the purchase date." "Is there any written agreement about their residency? Any lease? Any rental agreement? Any document where you agreed they could live there indefinitely?" "Nothing in writing. It was supposed to be family living together. They promised verbally to contribute financially, but never did." Sarah made notes on her legal pad. Here's your legal position, Mrs. Holloway. You own the house outright. Well, you and the bank via the mortgage. But that's in your name too. Marcus and Jessica are at-will tenants with no written lease and no legal protection. You could serve them with a 60-day notice to vacate. If they refuse to leave after that period, you could proceed with formal eviction through the courts. How long would that take? In San Francisco, 4 to 6 months minimum, potentially longer if they fight it. And it would be emotionally devastating. The court proceedings would be public. It would almost certainly destroy any hope of reconciliation with your son. I felt my heart sink. But, Sarah continued, there's another option, a cleaner one, which is sell the house. As the sole owner, you have absolute right to sell your property. Find a buyer willing to close quickly, 30 days or less. The purchase agreement would specify that all occupants must vacate by closing date. You give them notice when the papers are signed. It's legal, it's final, and it's much faster than eviction. Can I do that without telling them until the sale is finalized? Sarah smiled slightly. The house is in your name. You're not legally obligated to consult anyone about your decision to sell your own property. You could list it, accept an offer, sign a purchase agreement, and only inform them once everything is legally binding. How fast could this happen? With the right buyer and the right price, 3 weeks from accepted offer to closing. I'd strongly recommend finding a cash buyer to avoid any financing delays or complications. I leaned forward. What would you charge to handle this for me? $15,000 flat fee for the complete transaction. That includes purchase agreement review, title work, closing coordination, and ensuring everything is legally airtight so there's no recourse for your son to challenge the sale. I'll do it. When can we start? As soon as you have a buyer. I'll send you contact information for Jennifer Rodriguez. She's an excellent realtor who specializes in quick luxury home sales in San Francisco. She's discreet and effective. I shook Sarah's hand. Her grip was firm, confident. One more question, I said. When I tell them the house is sold and they need to leave, can I do that in front of witnesses? In a public setting? Sarah raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You can deliver notice however you want, Mrs. Holloway, though I'm curious about what you're planning. My son is having an engagement party, April 30th, about 45 guests. I think that's the perfect time to let everyone know the truth about what he's done. Sarah actually laughed, a real laugh. Mrs. Holloway, I like you. Send me the party date and I'll make sure all documents are ready. The movers can arrive during the event if you want maximum impact. That's exactly what I want. I hadn't spoken to my sister Carol in almost 2 years. We'd had a falling out in late 2021. She'd tried to warn me about Marcus changing, about him treating me differently, about the way he introduced me to his friends. She'd said, Dee, that boy is getting too big for his britches. He's embarrassed of where he came from. He's embarrassed of you. I'd gotten defensive, told her she didn't understand, that Marcus was just busy with his career, that she was being judgmental. We'd argued, hadn't talked since. But on March 1st, 2024, at 9:14 a.m., I sat in my small bedroom with lovely morning light and called her. She answered on the 3rd ring. Her voice was cautious. Denise? Carol. My voice cracked. I'm sorry. About everything. You were right. Silence on the other end. Then softer. What happened, Dee? I told her everything. Valentine's Day. The housekeeper comment. Marcus saying nothing. The financial situation. $1.5 million invested. 0 contribution from him. The wedding budget. The guest list with me at table 18 labeled miscellaneous. Carol was quiet for a long moment. Then, that little shit. Despite everything, I laughed. First real laugh in weeks. Dee, I'm so sorry. I wanted to be wrong about him. I know. I wanted you to be wrong too. What are you going to do? I'm selling the house. I've already talked to a lawyer and a realtor. I'm going to tell him at his engagement party in front of all his guests. Another pause. Then, can Tom and I come? I want to see this for myself, and I want to be there for you when it happens. Please, I need you there. We'll be there. Front row. And Dee, I'm proud of you. It takes guts to do what you're doing. I'm terrified. Good. That means it matters. But you're doing the right thing. That boy needs to learn you can't treat people like this, especially not your own mother. They drove down from Sacramento on March 10th, Saturday afternoon. Marcus and Jessica were out, some wine tasting event in Sonoma with Jessica's colleagues. Carol and her husband Tom walked through the house. I watched Carol's face get harder with every room. Jesus Christ, Dee, this place is beautiful. And worth how much? Current market value is $2.8 million. Tom, a retired contractor, was examining the renovation work, running his hands over the custom cabinets, checking the tile work in the bathrooms. This is top-tier stuff, custom everything, high-end fixtures. This renovation alone cost $300,000 to $400,000 easy. $380,000, I confirmed. Carol turned to me. And they haven't paid a single dime? Not one. We sat in the kitchen, my kitchen, the one I'd paid $52,000 to renovate, and I showed them everything on my laptop. The spreadsheets, the wedding budget, the guest list. Carol's hands shook when she saw Table 18, Family 1. I swear to God, Dee, I'm going to kill him. You can't. I need you for something else. What? I need you at the engagement party, April 30th. I'm going to announce I sold the house in front of all his guests. I need you there as my witness, as my support, as my family, my real family. Carol grabbed my hand across the table. Dee, I will be there. Tom and I both. We wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. Tom nodded. Someone needs to stand up for you, Denise. That boy's been skating by on your generosity for too long. After they left, I felt lighter than I had in months. I wasn't alone. I had Carol. I had Tom. I had Sarah Mitchell. I had a plan. But I was about to discover I had one more ally I never expected. It was a Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. I was home alone, Marcus at work, Jessica at a client meeting in Silicon Valley. I walked through the living room and saw it. Jessica's laptop, open, on the coffee table. Jessica never left her laptop open and unattended. She was paranoid about it. Always closed it. Always took it with her. Always password protected. But she'd left in a rush that morning, got a call about some client emergency at 7:30 a.m., rushed out in her workout clothes without showering, just grabbed her phone and keys and ran. The laptop sat there. Screen active. Gmail inbox visible. I should have walked away. I knew it was wrong. Invasion of privacy. All the things good people don't do. But I wasn't feeling particularly good anymore. I sat down, looked at the screen, and there, third message from the top, was a subject line that made my blood run cold. Re-DH situation. DH, Denise Holloway. I clicked. Email thread between Jessica Campbell and Patricia Campbell. From Jessica Campbell to Patricia Campbell. Date, March 1st, 2024, 11:23 p.m. Subject DH. Situation. Mom, I need your advice. The Denise situation is getting complicated. She's still living here and it's honestly getting awkward. She acts like this is her house. Technically it is, which is the problem. She keeps wanting to cook dinner for us, wants to be included in our plans, treats me like I'm her daughter-in-law instead of, I don't know. It's just weird. How do I bring up that maybe it's time for her to think about her own place without seeming like a horrible person? Mark won't have the conversation. He feels guilty because she paid for everything. But we can't live like this forever. We're getting married. We need our own space. Help, Just Chat. From Patricia Campbell to Jessica Campbell. Date, March 2nd, 2024, 8:15 a.m. Subject, Re-DH situation. Darling, this is tricky. You're right that the current arrangement isn't sustainable long-term. However, since the house is in her name, you're in a legally complicated position. You can't force her out of her own property. Here's what I suggest. You need Mark to handle this. He's her son. The conversation needs to come from him. But here's the strategic approach. After the wedding, you two should look at buying your own place. Frame it as, we need to start fresh as a married couple, rather than we want you gone. Let her keep this house. It's in her name anyway, and untangling that would be a nightmare. You don't want her name on anything you own going forward. Trust me on this. Clean financial separation is crucial. In the meantime, be patient. It's only a few more months until the wedding. Love, Mom. From Jessica Campbell to Patricia Campbell. Date, March 3rd, 2024, 10:47 p.m. Subject, Re-DH situation. But Mom, We've put so much into this house. The renovation was exactly what I wanted. Everything is perfect. I don't want to start over in some new place and have to renovate again. Isn't there a way to, I don't know, make her want to move? Like emphasize how much easier a small condo would be for her? The empty nester downsizing thing? She's 62. Wouldn't she be happier somewhere that's less maintenance, less stairs, her knees are bad, closer to her old neighborhood? If we frame it right, maybe she'd sign a quitclaim deed and we could buy her a nice little place in the sunset? Win-win? J. From Patricia Campbell to Jessica Campbell. Date: March 3rd, 2024, 11:52 p.m. Subject: Re-DH situation. Now you're thinking strategically. Here's what your father suggests. Make her feel like the house is a burden she's generously passing to you young people who need the space. Play up the wouldn't you be happier with less responsibility angle. Older people often respond well to the idea of simplifying their lives. But, and this is crucial, timing is everything. You can't push this before the wedding. She's emotional right now, understandably, with her only son getting married. If you pressure her, she might dig in or worse, cause problems. Wait until after wedding planning is fully underway. She won't want to disrupt Mark's happiness. That's when you have leverage. Start planting seeds now. Casual comments about this big house must be exhausting to maintain, or wouldn't a single-level condo be easier on your knees? Make her think it's her idea. Be patient, darling. Strategic patience always wins. Dad and I are here if you need advice. Love, Mom. From Jessica Campbell to Patricia Campbell. Date: March 15th, 2024, 4:32 p.m. Subject: Update. DH. Situation. Mom, Mark proposed. We went to Tahoe for the weekend and he proposed at Emerald Bay. Ring is perfect. 3.2 carats. Tiffany's setting. Exactly what I wanted. I'm dying. Best day of my life. Wedding planning officially begins. We're thinking September 21st at Carneros Resort. Already contacted the coordinator. Denise, I'm going to start implementing your strategy, dropping hints about how rattling around in this big house must be lonely for her, how the stairs must be hard on her knees, etc. Planting seeds like you said. Mark still feels guilty, but I think once we're actually married and she sees how serious we are, she'll come around to the idea of her own place. We'll keep you updated. Love you, P.S. Can you believe we're going to spend $247,000 on the wedding? It's going to be spectacular. I sat there staring at the screen. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone steady to take photos. I photographed every single email, every word, every calculated manipulation. Strategic patience. Planting seeds. Make her think it's her idea. She won't want to disrupt Mark's happiness. This wasn't just Marcus. This was a family conspiracy. Jessica and her parents, planning together how to manipulate me out of my own house while making me think it was my idea. And Marcus, my Marcus, was letting it happen. Mark still feels guilty, meant he knew about this plan and was too much of a coward to stop it. I saved all the photos to a new folder on my phone labeled Evidence 2. Closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it, walked to my bedroom on shaking legs, locked the door, and called Sarah Mitchell. Sarah, it's Denise Holloway. I need to accelerate our timeline. I want this house sold in 3 weeks, and I need to ask you about something else. What's that? I found emails on a laptop that was left open in a shared area of my house. Emails between Jessica and her mother discussing how to manipulate me into signing over my house. Is that admissible as evidence if I need it? Sarah paused. Mrs. Holloway, if the laptop was openly accessible in a common area of your house, and you're the homeowner, that's a legal gray area. The emails weren't password protected or in a locked device. But tell me, what exactly are you planning? I'm planning to present the truth at the engagement party, in front of all their guests. I want everyone to know what they've been doing. And you think these emails will help? I think these emails show conspiracy, premeditation, that this wasn't just Marcus being thoughtless. This was a calculated plan to steal my property. Mrs. Holloway, Sarah said carefully, I can't advise you to use potentially private communications publicly, but I also can't stop you from telling the truth about your own situation. Just be prepared for the fallout. I've been preparing for 40 years. I think I can handle it. 3 days after I found the emails, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mrs. Holloway? My name is Rachel Morgan. I work with your son at Harrison and Associates. I'm so sorry to call out of the blue, but we need to talk. In person. Please, it's important. My heart started racing. About what? About Marcus. About things you should know. Things he's said about you. I can't do this over the phone. Can we meet? Today, if possible. Why should I trust you? Because I grew up poor too, Mrs. Holloway. My mom was a cafeteria worker in Oakland Public Schools, and what I heard Marcus say about you, I couldn't stay silent. You deserve to know. We met at Pete's Coffee on Irving Street an hour later. Rachel Morgan was 32 years old, black woman, well-dressed in a charcoal suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She looked nervous, kept glancing around like she was afraid of being seen. Mrs. Holloway, thank you for meeting me. I almost didn't call, but my conscience wouldn't let me stay quiet. What's this about, Rachel? She opened her briefcase, pulled out her phone. I've worked at Harrison and Associates for 7 years. I'm a senior associate. Marcus joined about 6 years ago after he graduated law school. We were friendly at first. He seemed nice, talked about his mother sometimes, showed me photos of you two from when he was younger. He seemed proud of you then. She paused, gathering courage. But then things changed. After he started dating Jessica seriously, maybe 4 years ago, the way he talked about his background changed. The stories got edited. First, it was, my mom owned a small business. Then it became my family was in retail. Then you just disappeared from his stories completely. My chest tightened. Go on. 2 weeks ago, March 6th, I was in the office break room. Marcus was there with Andrew Chen, one of the junior partners. They were discussing real estate investments. I was making coffee, not really paying attention at first, but then I heard Marcus say something that made me freeze. She pulled up a voice memo on her phone. I started recording. I know I probably shouldn't have, but something told me someone needed to hear this. This is what he said. She pressed play. Marcus's voice, clear as day. Honestly, the North Beach house situation is perfect. My mother paid for everything. $900,000 down payment, $380,000 renovation, all the monthly expenses. She's been bleeding money for almost 2 years now. Jessica and I just have to wait her out. Andrew Chen's voice. Wait her out? That sounds cold, man. Marcus laughing. No, I mean she's 62. How many more years is she going to want to deal with a big house? Eventually she'll want to downsize. When she does, we'll help her find a nice little condo. She'll sign the house over to us, and boom, $2.8 million property in our name that we basically got for free. Andrew. Jesus, Marcus, that's your mother. Marcus. It's strategy, Andrew. She wants to help me. She's always wanted to help me. This way everyone wins. She gets to feel generous. We get equity. It's perfect. The recording ended. I sat there. The coffee shop noise faded into white static. All I could hear was my son's voice saying, wait her out, and basically got for free. Rachel's eyes were wet. Mrs. Holloway, I'm so sorry, but there's more. She played another recording. March 12th, different conversation. Marcus talking to someone named David. The old lady doesn't understand modern real estate. She thinks because her name is on the deed, she's secure. But Jessica's father knows lawyers, real estate attorneys. Once we're married, there are ways to make it complicated if she ever tried to sell or kick us out. Adverse possession claims, improvements made in good faith, verbal agreements about co-ownership. She'd never actually fight us in court anyway. She loves me too much. She'd cave. My hands were shaking so badly I had to put down my coffee cup. Rachel put her phone down. Mrs. Holloway, I come from the exact kind of background you do. My mother worked 2 jobs. She sacrificed everything to put me through college. When I heard Marcus talk about you like this, like you're just an obstacle to get around, like your love for him is a weakness to exploit, I couldn't stay silent. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what he's planning. And because... She hesitated. I'm leaving the firm anyway. I have another job lined up starting in June, but I couldn't leave without warning you. These people, Marcus and Jessica, they're planning something. You need to protect yourself. I looked at this woman, this stranger who had more loyalty to me than my own son. Rachel, if I asked you to do something for me, something that might be uncomfortable but perfectly legal, would you help? She met my eyes. What do you need? Marcus is having an engagement party, April 30th. About 45 guests, his colleagues, Jessica's family, their friends. Would you attend as a colleague, which you are, and would you be prepared to share what you just told me if I needed you to? Rachel didn't hesitate. Yes, absolutely yes. I'll bring the recordings. There might be consequences for you. I'm leaving the firm in 6 weeks anyway. And Mrs. Holloway? What he's doing to you is elder abuse, financial exploitation. It's not just wrong morally, it's illegal. Someone needs to stand up for you. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. She squeezed back. My mom would kill me if I didn't help. She always said, baby, you stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. You can stand up for yourself, Mrs. Holloway, but you shouldn't have to do it alone. After she left, I sat in that coffee shop for another 30 minutes. I had documentation of everything now, financial records showing $1.5 million invested, 0 contribution from Marcus. Wedding budget showing $323,000 in savings while claiming to be tight on cash. Guest list showing me relegated to table 18 as miscellaneous. Emails showing conspiracy to manipulate me out of my house. Recordings showing Marcus calling me the old lady and planning to exploit my love for him. I had everything I needed. Now I just had to wait for the perfect moment to use it. Jennifer Rodriguez, the realtor Sarah Mitchell recommended, worked fast. By April 3rd, she had 3 serious buyers lined up. Buyer 1, tech couple, Liu family, 2 young kids, $2.9 million offer, 45-day close. Buyer 2, investment banker, Michael Stevens, single, $2.85 million offer, 30-day close. Buyer 3, family relocating from Manhattan, Henderson family, 3 teenage kids, $2.8 million offer, 21-day close. I chose the Hendersons. Not because of the price, it was actually the lowest offer, but because of the timeline. 21 days was perfect, and because they seemed like good people. The parents, David and Michelle Henderson, had come to the showing with their kids, ages 14, 16, and 17. The kids were polite, excited about San Francisco, talked about which bedrooms they wanted. Michelle talked about hosting family dinners. David mentioned teaching the kids to cook in that beautiful kitchen. They were the kind of family that should live in that house, not the parasites currently occupying it. Purchase agreement signed April 10th, 2024. Closing date, May 1st, 2024. Move-out deadline, April 30th, 2024, 11:59 p.m., the same day as Marcus's engagement party. Sarah looked at me over her desk when I confirmed the date. Mrs. Holloway, you understand the movers will arrive while the party is happening? I'm counting on it, Sarah. I want the moving truck to pull up at exactly 7 p.m., right when the party is in full swing. And you're planning to announce this publicly? In front of all the guests? In front of every single person Marcus has been trying to impress. His boss, his colleagues, Jessica's parents. All of them need to know the truth. Sarah smiled, a real smile. Mrs. Holloway, I've been practicing family law for 23 years. I've seen a lot of cases of adult children exploiting their parents financially. Most of the time, the parents are too ashamed or too afraid to fight back. I'm glad you're not one of them. I raised him to be better than this. I'm sure you did. Sometimes people choose to become less than they were raised to be. That's not your failure. That's his. Marcus and Jessica were busy with party planning. They'd rented tables and chairs for the backyard, $2,400 on my credit card, charged without asking. Hired caterers from Atelier Cren, one of the most expensive restaurants in San Francisco, $8,600 for 45 people. Ordered elaborate floral arrangements, $1,850. Rented a champagne tower, $450. Total party cost so far, $13,300. All charged to my credit card. Not once did Marcus ask permission. I watched them plan their perfect party in my house, using my money, celebrating their future that was built on my exploitation. And I smiled, because I knew something they didn't. April 26th, 4 days before the party, I got a text from Carol. Tom and I are driving down on the 30th. We're staying at a hotel nearby. We'll be there by 5 p.m. You ready for this, sis? I texted back. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. April 27th, Rachel Morgan texted. Confirmed for Tuesday. I have all recordings backed up in 3 places. I'm ready when you are, Mrs. H. April 28th, 2 days before the party, Jessica's parents arrived early from Boston. Marcus suggested a family dinner at Gary Danko, one of San Francisco's most expensive restaurants. Prefix tasting menu, $142 per person, not including wine. "Mom, you should come," Marcus said when he told me about it. "It'll be nice. All of us together before the big party." It was a trap. I knew it was a trap, but I went anyway, because I wanted to see what they'd try. Gary Danko, 8 p.m., private dining room. 6 people seated around an elegant table draped in white linen. Robert and Patricia Campbell, Jessica's brother Trevor Campbell, 28, hedge fund manager from New York, Marcus and Jessica, me. The conversation started pleasantly enough, wine flowing, $320 bottle of Bordeaux that Marcus ordered without looking at the price. Appetizers arrived, foie gras, oysters, things that cost more than most people's weekly grocery budget. I ate quietly, watching them, studying them. Halfway through the main course, Robert Campbell put down his fork and cleared his throat. Here it comes, I thought. "Denise, Patricia and I wanted to discuss something with you. A family matter." I put down my fork, too. "Of course, Robert. What's on your mind?" Patricia smiled warmly, the same smile she'd given me on Valentine's Day when she thought I was the housekeeper. "Denise, dear, you've been so generous with Marcus and Jessica, opening your home to them. But we've been thinking. That big house must be exhausting for you. All those stairs, the maintenance, the responsibility." Jessica chimed in, perfectly rehearsed. "We worry about you, Denise. You mentioned last month how your knees have been bothering you. Wouldn't something smaller be easier? A nice condo, maybe? Single level, low maintenance?" Trevor added his part. "From a financial perspective, downsizing makes a lot of sense at this stage of life. You could cash out your equity, find something more manageable, reduce your stress significantly." They'd coordinated this, rehearsed it, probably practiced in the hotel room before dinner. Marcus cleared his throat. His turn. "Mom, they have a point. You're always complaining about how hard it is to keep up with that house. What if we helped you find a place, maybe in the Sunset District, back near your old neighborhood, or even Sacramento, closer to Aunt Carol?" Translation: anywhere but here, anywhere far away from them. Robert leaned forward, going in for the close. "We'd all contribute to help with your condo purchase, family investment, and Marcus and Jessica could take over the North Beach house. They're young, they need the space, especially when they start having children. Everyone wins." They were all looking at me, waiting, expecting me to smile gratefully and agree to my own displacement. I took a sip of water, very slowly, very deliberately. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly." My voice was calm, steady. "You want me to give Marcus the house that I bought with money I earned, the house I paid a $900,000 down payment for with my own savings, the house I paid $380,000 to renovate, the house where I've paid every single mortgage payment for 20 months. That's $153,000 in mortgage payments alone. You want me to hand that over to Marcus and Jessica, who have contributed exactly $0, and in exchange, you'll help me buy a condo?" Silence around the table. A waiter appeared with the next course, saw our faces, and quickly retreated. Patricia recovered first. "Well, Denise, when you put it that way, it sounds transactional. We're talking about family helping family." "Family?" I opened my purse, pulled out my phone. "Is that what we're calling it?" I pulled up the photos of the emails, set my phone on the table so everyone could see. "March 3rd, Patricia. You emailed Jessica advising her to make me feel like the house is a burden I'm generously passing to you young people. You suggested strategic patience and planting seeds to make me think downsizing was my idea. You wrote, and I quote, 'She won't want to disrupt Mark's happiness. That's when you have leverage.'" Patricia's face went white. Jessica looked like she might be sick. "You went through our private correspondence?" Jessica's voice shook. "You left your laptop open in my living room in my house. But let's talk about privacy, Jessica. Let's talk about planning with your mother how to manipulate me out of my own property. Let's talk about your fiancé, my son, who told his colleague Andrew Chen that he was waiting me out for the house." I looked directly at Marcus. "Would you like to tell everyone what you said? Or should I?" Marcus's face had gone gray. "Mom, those conversations were taken out of context. I have recordings, Marcus. Would you like me to play them?" Here, in front of everyone? The table was dead silent. Trevor Campbell was staring at his plate. Robert was gripping his napkin so hard his knuckles were white. Here's what's actually going to happen, I continued, my voice still calm. Nothing you planned. Not the guilt trip, not the manipulation, not the strategic patience. I'm not giving you my house. I'm not signing anything over. I'm not downsizing to make room for your expansion. Trevor found his voice. Mrs. Holloway, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My family had no idea Marcus was treating you this way. Didn't you, Trevor? Your parents coached Jessica on manipulation tactics. You're here tonight recommending the financial perspective angle. You were all complicit. Robert Campbell pushed back from the table. This is absurd. We were trying to help. Help yourselves to my property, you mean? I stood up, placed $150 on the table, enough to cover my share of the meal. The rest of the bill is on you, Marcus, since you're so good at charging things to other people's credit cards without asking. Oh, and one more thing. Enjoy the engagement party on Tuesday. It's going to be very memorable. I walked out of Gary Danko with my head high. Behind me, I could hear Jessica crying, Patricia hissing angry whispers, Marcus calling, Mom, wait! I didn't wait. I had a party to prepare for. The day started too normally, almost eerily normal. I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee, sat in my small bedroom with the lovely morning light, and went through everything one last time. Purchase agreement. Signed, filed, binding. Movers. Confirmed for 7 p.m. arrival. Henderson family. Excited to take possession tomorrow. Rachel Morgan. Ready with recordings. Carol and Tom. Arriving at 5 p.m. Evidence. Organized in folders on my phone and laptop. Everything was ready. Marcus and Jessica were up early too, supervising the party setup. The rental company arrived at 10 a.m., white chairs, elegant tables, string lights being hung across the backyard. The florist arrived at 3 p.m. with arrangements that probably cost more than I used to make in a month. The caterer arrived at 4 p.m. with trays of expensive food. I stayed in my room most of the day, watching from my window as they transformed the backyard of my house into their perfect celebration. At 5:30 p.m., I got a text from Jennifer Rodriguez, my realtor. Moving truck confirmed. Crew of 4 will arrive at 7 p.m. sharp. They have your complete inventory list. Henderson family is beside themselves with excitement. They're bringing champagne to the walkthrough tomorrow morning. At 5:45 p.m., Carol and Tom arrived. I heard them at the front door, heard Marcus greeting them with false warmth. Aunt Carol, Uncle Tom, so glad you could make it. Carol's voice cool. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Marcus. They came upstairs. Carol hugged me tight. You ready, sis? I've never been more ready for anything in my life. Good, because that boy is about to learn the hardest lesson he's ever learned. At 6 p.m., I heard the first guests arriving. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time. I was wearing the same dress from Valentine's Day, the one I'd worn when they called me the housekeeper. Symbolic. I went downstairs. The backyard was already filling with people. I recognized some of them from previous gatherings. Marcus's colleagues from Harrison and Associates. Jessica's tech industry friends. People I'd been introduced to as, Denise, she lives here with us. By 6:45 p.m., all 45 guests had arrived. The backyard glowed with string lights. Champagne flowed. $85 per bottle. I'd seen the invoice. People laughed, talked, celebrated. Rachel Morgan found me near the kitchen. Mrs. H., I'm here. Recordings are ready. Thank you, Rachel. Marcus saw me and approached, his smile nervous. We hadn't spoken since the Gary Danko dinner 2 nights ago. Mom, you look nice. Thanks for being here. It's my house, Marcus. Where else would I be? His smile faltered. Jessica appeared, her smile even more brittle than his. Denise, we're so glad you could join us. Join them. In my own house, at a party paid for with my credit card. Robert and Patricia Campbell stood by the champagne tower, holding court. They saw me, and their conversation stopped mid-sentence. At exactly 6:55 p.m., I positioned myself near the back patio doors where I could see both the backyard and the front of the house. And I waited. 7 p.m. I heard it. The sound I'd been waiting for. A diesel engine rumbling up the street. Air brakes hissing. The unmistakable beep, beep, beep of a large truck backing up. Every head in the backyard turned toward the sound. What's that? Someone asked. Marcus walked toward the side gate, confused. I didn't order any deliveries. The gate opened. 2 men in moving company uniforms came through, carrying clipboards. We're looking for Denise Holloway? We're here for the furniture removal? The entire party went silent. 45 pairs of eyes turned to me. Marcus froze. Mom, what's going on? I stepped forward. My voice was clear, steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. I sold the house. April 30, 2024, 7 p.m. The reveal. I sold the house. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Marcus found his voice. You what? You can't. This is my house. Actually, Marcus, it's not. It never was. I pulled out my phone, held it up so everyone could see. This is the deed. One name, Denise Marie Holloway. This is the purchase agreement I signed April 10th. Sale price, $2.8 million. Closing date, tomorrow, May 1st. Jessica grabbed Marcus's arm. Denise, this is insane. You can't just... I can, and I did. The new owners, the Henderson family, take possession tomorrow at 9 a.m. You have until midnight tonight to vacate. Patricia Campbell stepped forward, her face red. This is completely inappropriate. We're guests at an engagement party. You're guests in my house, I said. And since you're all here, you should know the truth about what your host has been doing. I looked at Rachel Morgan. She stepped forward, phone ready. This is Rachel Morgan. She works with Marcus at Harrison & Associates. Rachel, would you share what you told me? Rachel's voice was clear, professional. 2 weeks ago, I overheard Marcus tell a colleague, and I recorded it, that he was waiting out his mother for this house. That she'd paid for everything, and he was just waiting for her to want to downsize so he could get a $2.8 million property, basically for free. She played the recording. Marcus's voice filled the backyard. The old lady doesn't understand modern real estate. She'd never actually fight us in court anyway. She loves me too much. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I pulled up the spreadsheet on my phone. I've invested $1,508,340 in this house. Down payment, $900,000. Renovation, $380,000. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every expense for 20 months. Marcus's contribution, $0. But he told us, one of his colleagues started. He told you I was the housekeeper, I said. On Valentine's Day, when Jessica's parents were visiting, they asked if I was the help. Marcus said nothing. He let them believe it. Patricia's face had gone from red to white. We had no idea. You had every idea. I pulled up the emails on my phone. March 3rd. You emailed Jessica telling her to make me feel like this house was a burden I'm generously passing to you young people. You called it strategic patience. You were all planning how to manipulate me out of my own property. Jessica started crying. Marcus, tell them this is a misunderstanding. But Marcus couldn't speak. He was staring at the moving truck, at his colleagues, at his boss, Harold Morrison, whose face had gone cold and hard. Harold stepped forward. Mark, is this true? You've been living rent-free in your mother's house while telling us you owned it? Marcus finally found his voice. I never said I owned it. It's complicated. No, I said. It's actually very simple. You exploited your mother's love. You were ashamed of where you came from. You erased me from your life story. And you planned to steal my house. Carol stepped beside me. I'm Denise's sister. I watched her work 2 jobs to raise this boy alone. I watched her build a business from nothing. And this is how he repays her? By treating her like she's invisible? The movers started carrying furniture out, past the guests, past Marcus standing frozen, past Jessica sobbing into her hands. People started leaving, quickly, quietly, ashamed to be associated with what they'd witnessed. Harold Morrison paused at the gate. Marcus, we'll talk Monday morning. This kind of character issue. It reflects poorly on the firm. Robert and Patricia Campbell left without saying goodbye to anyone. Within 20 minutes, only Marcus, Jessica, Rachel, Carol, Tom, and I remained. Marcus looked at me, really looked at me. Mom, I don't know what to say. There's nothing to say, Marcus. You made your choices. Now you live with the consequences. You have until midnight to pack your belongings and leave. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore, son. 6 months later, November 2024. I'm sitting on the small balcony of my new condo in the Sunset District. 1,200 square feet, 2 bedrooms, bought with cash for $625,000. The second bedroom is my craft room. I've taken up woodworking. Carol comes for Sunday dinner every week. Rachel Morgan and I have coffee monthly. The Henderson kids sent me a thank you card. They love the house. Marcus lost his position at Harrison and Associates. Not fired, but quietly encouraged to leave. He's at a smaller firm now doing estate planning. I heard he and Jessica broke up in June. Her parents wouldn't allow the marriage. He's called me 37 times. I've answered twice. Both conversations were brief. Last week I received a letter. Dear Mom, I'm in therapy, twice a week, learning about shame, about class anxiety, about how I weaponized your love against you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm trying to become someone worthy of it. I'm sorry. Marcus. I sat with that letter for 3 days. Yesterday I texted him. Pete's Coffee, Saturday 10 a.m., 30 minutes. I don't know if we'll ever repair what was broken. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I learned something at 62 years old. Love without respect isn't love at all. It's just exploitation wearing a familiar face. I gave my son everything. He took it all and wanted more, so I took back what was mine. And now, sitting here with my morning coffee, watching the fog roll over the neighborhood where I built my first business, I finally feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace.